Hi YouTube, Jolly Green 1990 here of do my review of One Piece chapter 1072. Right off the bat, I'm going to start with the pacing. So this will be a 15 points. You have pacing, story, character. So right off the bat, you have Bonnie and Vegapunk I consider as one. You have Kuma essentially at the Grand Line Marijoa. You have the Kuma flashback. You have the Straw Hats and the Pads looking down on essentially Rob Lucci and everyone showing up. You have Zoro and Kaku. Time skips a little, and then you have, spoiler, Stussy essentially attacking Kaku and finding her she is. So, 6 parts. I thought the stuff with Kuma and his daughter and Bonnie, daughter Bonnie, and then Vegapunk was good, but I thought they could have done a little more concise. I mean, I think it still worked. The only concern I have with the pacing was there is a small time gap from essentially when Zoro knocks Kaku down to when Stussy bites him. So overall, I would still, I mean, the pacing, even with the stuff with jumping back and forth, I would give it like a 4.5 out of 5. Can't complain. Character wise, my opinion, there's a lot here. You've got the Mats. I mean, I love, some people understand I was watching some people did not like Queen design, but I love Queen design. I thought, if you watch my live review, you know, I thought Caesar essentially kind of looks like an evil bunny. So I like this. I like character for essentially Queen and Caesar. I feel it adds more. And then the Black Devil fruit kind of, but that would be more character. So, sorry, story. So character, Caesar, Queen. Bonnie kind of showing her off her abilities a little with being able to go to alternate timelines. Vegapunk essentially kind of having a moral side to him and having a reason for doing what he did to Kuma. Kuma actually having like, hey, I don't want anyone to see it, having genuine concerns about this, what they did with his memory. Bonnie being able to recognize what Kuma's abilities can do. That to me was part of her character. Shaka, Nami, Sanji, and Lilith. Well, and Pythagoras. So little, yeah, but Shaka to me kind of observing what's going on, explaining kind of why the Seraphim can do what they can do or why they're up there. That was good for the story, but also kind of his character. He's the one explaining things. You have Sanji kind of joking about the fact that Zoro is essentially going to get killed right before they get to One Piece because the Seraphim there. And then you have Nami essentially like, knock it off, go do it. Everyone's like, Sanji, it kind of takes a little out of that, or the fact that he's listening to her, but at the same time, to me, it's part of his character. So I do like that. I like the banter. To me, that does just say, okay, we're seeing more of a typical crew member reactions from them. Zoro and Kaku. Brook did a little bit, we didn't see it. Kaku is awakened. I'm going to say this right now. Do not believe Kaido was awakened. Originally thought he did. With the fact that we've seen Lucci and Kaku have the ring and essentially the Oda box with Lucci essentially explaining that he wasn't awakened. I love the Kaido fight. Love it. Love Kaido as a villain. I think we're not done with him. I think more of that's going to happen later, where you're going to see a rematch either with him and Luffy or maybe Zoro. Initially, you know, I wasn't pleased with the Kakus, or I still think it's okay fight. Zoro trolls. I didn't see that specifically. I went back and realized essentially when Zoro does that, it's getting tired. Kaku goes and falls. I still think Kaku looks like an angst snake. Just saying. I think, okay, fine, he's got the awakening. Good for him. He's increased. It's not going to make a difference against Zoro. As you know, I still think that Zoro versus Rob Lucci, Zoro is either beating him barely or they're tying. So what is Kaku going to do? He's beaten him once for it. So Kaku, the fact that he's awakened, good for him. Lucci, character, the biggest thing was he gets surprised. He gets betrayed. That's more for Stussy's character, but I love that. So a lot of YouTubers say, hey, we love the fact that he's the one that gets betrayed. Stussy, Queen of the Pleasure District. I mean, there's so much possibilities. Just the fact that her character, okay, now we have clone of Miss Buckingham Stussy Roxford. That adds character to Weevil's mom because a lot of YouTubers, Buckin, are assuming based on this that she is based off of Miss Buckingham, Weevil's mom, Buckin. So there's possibilities. We had the previous picture with Mads, and you see that woman. A lot of people thought simulated it might have been Stussy. Now I'm thinking it was either the Stussy clone, or it could have been the original Miss Buckingham. There's a lot for character. Let's go back and do story. I'll give you my thoughts. So, like a lot of people, I was thrown off by the beginning. Honestly, I thought I wasn't sure who it was when they were talking about essentially even if the world doesn't agree, I know that she's a living, breathing person, a true and undeniable human being. It was a success. I am certain of it. And this is one great step toward the creation of world peace. This is obviously Stussy. I'm based on the fact the end of the chapter and this, it's Stussy. So, character. The cloning stuff is getting pushed forward more. In fact, intangible objects can essentially, Kuma can push stuff out, including memories. YouTuber watchers and everything now said we have essentially 3 people who can do memories. We have Pudding, Seraphim Kuma, and Kuma. That's broken. I liked the fact that this YouTuber talked about maybe the fact that what if he could push out your soul? Literally Big Mom's fruit, except he could choose what he pushes out. I don't know if I think it would be that broken. Nice thought. I don't believe I believe that, but I wanted to at least discuss it. I skipped a little on Mommy stuff for the story. I do like the fact that we're going to see Bonnie access Kuma's memories. That'll give us more context of, okay, what does he know? Why did he choose this? Why is he maybe going to the Grand Line? And who is truly Bonnie? It's probably going to do with her origin. That to me, that would be the original reason. If I was a father, why would not my daughter do this? Because he may not be her real father, and she doesn't know that. Now, just we got jumping a little back. The distorted future of Bonnie. I do like that. To me, she looked very similar to Kuma's body. Just for that. Story-wise, Vegapunk kind of talks about why you don't want to essentially, or in the flashback, him and Kuma talk about essentially pushing stuff out, particularly memories and other stuff, and the fact that soul. So here we go. A scholar in the West Blue once said that people lose 21 grams of weight after they die. A lot of people, me included, believe that Scholar was essentially the doctor who worked for Dr. Baga something. It's kind of driving me crazy. Pretty much the scientist on Thriller Bark that was putting the zombies together. I forget his name, I said, but it's going to drive me crazy. Starts with the B. So that scientist essentially, if you remember his name, please tell me in the comments below. That scientist essentially, as a lot of people are assuming, came up with the idea that essentially people lose 21 grams of weight after they die because he essentially was working so much with bodies and the Shadows with Gecko Moria. Story-wise, progressing forward, we see essentially the Seraphim have made their way up to the dome, and so we're going to get to see some fights with Zoro and Sanji against these Seraphim, and we're going to get some character development through that, which will lead to more story development. We see the fact that Pythagoras essentially is still kind of throwing the hierarchy, which I like. We see that Kaku is awakened, which goes to me the fact that Kaido is not awakened. This adds to the story because now we have a second zone who you can know through the black flames is clearly awakened and in control. Kaido was not lost. He wasn't brain dead in Musket. He was complete control. We could tell he was talking back and forth, in control as much as you could be. But there was no black flames. That to me adds to the theory that he was not awakened. Story, the lab was destroyed, and then we get to the last part. Stussy being the clone of Miss Buckingham, aka Weevil's mom, adds so much to the story and to the fact I still believe she could be the one that Vegapunk was talking to. There's two theories, in my opinion. She's either the one he was talking to or she wasn't, and she has her own agenda, and she's there to help herself and possibly Miss Buckingham, not Vegapunk. And one thing that came out of this story, a big thing, is we were introduced to learning back in Hokeka, but it wasn't until we got here that we really started to get everything thrown at us. And so, big thing I've heard a lot is Karina could be cloned. I don't want to speculate because as a YouTuber, the one I was watching said it, then Luffy could be a clone, and we don't want that. I do not want Luffy to be a clone. I wouldn't mind if they tried to clone him, and then he had to fight it. Another YouTuber came up with this idea or thought about this. I think to me that would be a reasonable thing as long as Luffy is not a clone. Zoro being a clone, I wouldn't hate those ideas because Oda straight up said he is not the son of Shimotsuki Ryoma, the descendant. So then, is he a clone of Ryoma or Shimotsuki? We don't know. And so, Zoro being a clone, Karina, I get because of her lineage, that doesn't appeal to me. So, character, I would obviously give it a 5/5. I mean, this was a phenomenal chapter. In the beginning, I was like, I know initially I gave it like a 7, or essentially story-wise is a 5/5. So if I was going to change anything, character, let's go with 4. Pacing, let's go with 4. Story, let's go with 5. So 13 out of 15. Really good chapter. Wonderful, great way to start the year. Essentially as the second official chapter. There is no break next week. If you liked my review, leave a like. Disliked it, leave a dislike and a comment, please. This is Jolly Green, signing out. Bye, YouTube.